Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 4 of OOpS, the show with the title reflecting the fact that through my entire life, all I've been told is that I've been overly opinionated about something or another. And today's episode is actually a very special one. It's the one right before Christmas. It's Christmas Eve. Woohoo! So with that, I'll do the little theme song and then I'll pick a topic for us to talk about. Do 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 do. All right, for today's episode, I want to talk about fandoms, and particularly I guess, the personification of fictional characters and like making them like act as if they're real life, um, and like the idea that like you can have an anime boyfriend or girlfriend because I think that's so interesting. And the reason why I bring this up is because I watched a movie last night called Rise of the Guardians. It's kind of an older movie, not like a super old movie, but maybe like 2015-ish, maybe 2016-ish. Um, and oh, maybe it was even before that. I don't even know, but it's such a good movie. It essentially is about guardians like Santa Claus, the Sandman, the Tooth Fairy, and the Easter Bunny, and how they protect children and they guide children through their times of need and things like that. And then the main character that is like kind of focused around is Jack Frost. And when I tell you, hold on, let me just. Oh God, I love him so much. He's beautiful. He is immaculate. He's gorgeous. Even in the movie, they reference how beautiful he is, and he deserves it because he he's just every embodiment of what I think like a good person should be. Now, let's talk about that because, and also we'll talk about the reason why like we fantasize about these fictional characters. So Jack Frost, right? He's like, with any like I guess mythology or story or something like that. He's the one that like from the old tale, like Jack Frost nipping at your nose. He's the one that brings in the cold weather and the cold frosty air, and he's the one that gives you snow days, or you know is responsible for all the beautiful snow that falls, or the 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 frozen lines, power lines, or like the little uh, sleet of like frozen ice on the ground that you slip on. He's the one responsible for that. Or the little frostbite things at your at your windows, on the outside of your windows. He's the one that does that. And I really, really like this depiction of a character because it shows how even if you are this like all powerful being, right? You still have a lot of flaws. You still have, there's a lot of inner turmoil that you have to go through in order to become like the best version of yourself. And um, I'm not going to spoil the whole thing because I think it's a wonderful movie, and I watch it sometimes even when it's not even Christmas time because it's not even really a Christmassy movie. It's just kind of like a movie that happens to have like the Christmas and Easter and all kinds of stuff in it. Um, but it's so good because the entire time Jack's character, right, he wakes up. This is in the first 5 seconds of the film, so it's not ruining anything. He wakes up and he realizes that he has these like magical powers. He can like freeze things and create little frost pieces of frost bits everywhere. He can fly thanks to like the power of a wind. I guess will be like the frozen nippy wind, that people feel whenever it's cold outside. Um, and he learns that he's not able to talk to anybody. He's not able to talk to any humans because they don't believe in him. And so later on, the whole point of the movie is that he's trying to find someone to believe in him enough to where he feels justified and to where he, has a purpose for the things that he does. Because before that, I think they talk about like he's been around for almost 300 years and no one has ever saw him or done anything to talk to him or anything. Um, which I think is crazy. Imagine being like an immortal figure, right? And you just watch the world go by and you can affect it, but you can't alter it in any way that's meaningful. And you can't help people or talk to them or things like that. Just imagine how infuriating and frustrating that would be. But the good point about Jack's character is that he's always kind, even after all these like 300 years. he could be, you know, evil and mean. And some people who like, you know, say like, well, I slipped and fell because of this, or like, you know, because of the ice, or you know, it's frozen, my pipes burst. Those things are like evil, but they're kind of not. They're just things that happen. um and he he has to like prove himself, or through all that time he still hasn't changed from being a very caring person, a very caring figure. He cares for children, he cares for other people around him, he cares for like his friends, which are like the other guardians, like the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy and things like that. And I think that's something that like more people should do and more people should realize, is that even though you have the capability to be like a really awful person, like deep down you choose to be your true self. And most of the time people's true selves are those that like help people and want the best for people and want to make smiles more than make people angry, want to make people smile more than they make people angry. And I think that's a wonderful thing for people to think about, especially for Christmas season, for the Christmas season and the winter season. um so yeah, that's just what I talk about for beginning bit. Let me find just another thing to talk about right quick. Yes. Okay. So going back to the idea that a fictional character is like someone in person that you can actually like talk to and things like that. We're talking about fan fiction. I love fan fiction so much because it creates a world designed for the person who really, really loves the art, or the content or whatever you're, you know, reading about. It expands it so much further than just like the figurative, you know, like compounds of the confines, sorry, the confines of the original book. So for example, like Harry Potter, like those books have like set canon things that happen in the book, versus fan fiction that allows people to like enjoy other parts about it that they think that would have happened. um and I don't know if anyone else has ever tried to write fan fiction. I haven't really. I don't really care for it to like write it, but I love to read it. But I know it's insanely hard because not only do you have to understand the character fully in order to create a whole story based around them, you have to use the character's like speech, I guess, but in this case, you know, it's written form. So like the way the character is written, the way the character speaks in the writing, the way the character acts to certain situations, you have to take in all that and then develop a whole new story based on that. Or sometimes, you know, connect other characters. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of time and a lot of um, appreciation for the work that was already made. um, and I think that's awesome. uh, and I love fan fiction so much. And a lot of the time, not most of the time, but a lot of the time, sometimes the fan fiction is longer than the story, which I think is awesome. I think that's so cool because sometimes, like, you know, like authors, they probably go through a lot of, you know, hoops that they have to have this sort of thing in their book in order for it to get published. They might have to take this out, they might have to do this or that. But with fan fiction, you're able to just write freely, and I think that's where most beautiful writing comes. um, I think there's very few authors that I've read. You know, I've read not a whole ton, but I've read a lot of books in my life. Um, and honestly, fan fiction is sometimes written better because good fan fiction. I'm not talking about like this mighty, you know, gross teenager, you know, whatever. Like good fan fiction, um, it's written better than a lot of books, like a lot of published books. Is because they're able to write freely and be creative in the things that they talk about, and allow the characters to actually develop rather than be confined. That's the word, like be confined by the fake boundaries of the book. So yeah, and yeah, I just think fan fiction is really good because, for example, some of the ones that like stick out of my mind right now is, oh gosh, I wish I knew the name. Give me just a second to think of the name. Oh, I don't remember. Um, I think it's like The Sound of Silence or something like that. Something around silence and the sound of something. Um, and it focuses on the area of the the fandom of Homestuck, which is like a web comic. Homestuck is a no whole nother thing, and I'll talk about that in a second. But two characters specifically, excuse me. Um, One of them in the original story, in like the original web comic, they're just kind of like friends. If anything, they like they're there for each other and they're like cool, but they're kind of like acquaintance friends, if that makes sense. um, they kind of, they talk to each other, they, go around the whole story, but they're kind of not like best friends. um, Silence is Golden, that's what it's called. The title of the fan fiction is called Silence is Golden, and if you want to look it up, it's a Dave John, um, that's like, that's like their ship name is Dave John. um, Silence is Golden, Dave John, and I think it's on Archives of Our Own or maybe on fanfiction.net. I don't remember, but um, anyway, the two characters, Dave and John, they're not like best friends, but they're pretty close. But in this one, John um, is deaf. No, excuse me, no, he's not deaf. He's mute. That's the whole point of the thing. He's mute, and so he's not able to talk to people. And takes place like, imagine all. This is the great thing about fan fiction, is because all these characters, like, and their backstories and things like that. You know what makes them, who they are and their character traits and things like that. So what this fan fiction does is it takes them from the webcomic and it puts them in real world and real life, kind of, in like a high school, and all the characters are there and they're still doing their things. None of it's magical, none of it's fantasy, none of it's blah blah blah. It's just like regular life, but it's kind of like a romance between Dave and John. And um, John is mute, and so he's not able to, and not in the actual one, but in the fan fiction, he's mute, and so he can't like explain things very well, and he can't speak up for himself. Sometimes it's hard for him to do that, and so what he does is he uses like a little he knows sign language, of course, but the thing that he has to do with most people, because most people don't know sign language, is that he has to write on like a piece of paper and keep a notebook, things like that. And one of the beautiful parts about this is because it takes John's character traits and it puts it in an entirely different setting, and it allows John's character traits of being funny, of being caring, of being, like the goofball, and it puts it in an entirely different viewpoint in which, the readers can learn about sign language in the fan fiction, because the fan fiction, they like I think it uses actual sign language. Like it has like a paragraph. Sometimes it has like a description of how the hands are moved and what I don't know what it's called, what signs that are made from the hand. And it's really good. And I think it's like, I think if I printed it out, it would probably be like maybe 200, 300 pages. But it's really good. And oh yeah, John's character is shown in a different way, and it's beautiful. It's beautifully written. I love it. And then the opposite hand, Dave. Dave is supposed to be this like cool guy. He's supposed to be, he keeps to himself. He's very quiet, and so he's also very athletic. And so he tries out for the football team. He realizes that he really, really doesn't like the people around him. He realizes that the football team picks on John because he's mute and he can't, because of bullying. And so what he does is he starts to take an interest in John. And he's like, wow, like, why won't this through his entire life, people always saw Dave as like an athletic person, as being cool, so they always try and be his friend so they can also be cool and also get ahead in social situations and things like that. But John never did that. Whenever they bumped into each other one day, John just kind of like just didn't say anything, and then Dave was like, well, what's wrong with him, like like he didn't say anything about me, he didn't ask me to be his friend, he's not trying to take advantage of me. And through that, Dave takes interest in John, and he realizes that John's mute, and so Dave learns sign language. And it's a whole nother world and a whole nother edition and a whole nother like appreciation for the characters, the original characters, that you can't really get in the original version, because in the original version they have so much other stuff going on. And in this version, they allows them to just be themselves and like use their character traits to live as happily as they could be. So yeah, I think that's a very good, overly opinionated statement on fan fiction and the creation of characters, and how the creation of fan fiction and how like it takes from one characters to personify them in a different way than what they usually are. So yes. All right. Moving on to a different topic. I have 15 minutes left in this little short segment of today's episode. I will find something to talk about. All right, in the same kind of like area, I want to talk about video games because video games have, they've been around since ever since I was a child. Starting around, I think my first video game that I ever witnessed uh, was most likely Pokemon, and Pokemon like Leaf Green or Fire Red or something like that, or Yellow, or something like that. If you're not a Pokemon fan, don't worry about it. But um, yeah, it would probably be Pokemon, and then after that, it would probably be like Animal Crossing back on the GameCube, and then after that, it was like Halo, and then after that, it was started. Things started to pick up and pick up and pick up, and then now we're at the place where we are to game or today for gaming, and esports. That's a whole nother topic that's really really interesting because gaming has gone from kind of like a solitary experience or like you just play by yourself with like you're the person, you're going through the game, you're trying to get one goal achieved, but then now it's like where everyone can play, and I think that's the reason why games are so amazing and so like popular. Because with board games, kind of, um the whole idea with board games is it's kind of similar to a book, I guess, and how you read a book is that you have to use your imagination to create these things. Whereas with video games, everything is there for you. Everything is supplied in a much easier to comprehend fashion. You're not able to create an idea of what it may look like. Everything is presented to you exactly how the creators of the game want it to be presented. Um, and with a board game, maybe you have to use like pictures or photos, but there's still a little bit of like differentiability and playability and tweakness of the characters, tweaking of the characters that you can do. But with video games, it's right there in front of you. Or modern video games is like right there in front of you, and that's the only thing that you can experience, um, which I think is really cool. Um, and then that's also the point where fan fiction comes in too, because going back to fan fiction, it allows like a fan of these video games to bring in all different types of characters, because most of the time you're only able to play one character at a time. So you're able, with fan fiction, you're able to create a whole like world essentially, kind of not retrograding it, but like pulling it back to where you're allowing your imagination to take over for the world rather than it being presented to you. um, but yeah, the multiplayer function of video games I think is something really valuable. And I know like everyone, maybe not everyone, but like most people my age now, they appreciate the fact that it's multiplayer, because back when we were younger, it wasn't the Stone Age or anything, but it was, we didn't, things just didn't operate the same way as it does now, with terms of like video games and connectivity and communication with like smartphones and the internet and things like that. It just worked differently, and it wasn't as good. Some ways it was better, some ways it wasn't, but um, it's really really cool how so many different people are able to come together for one thing and enjoy it so much, where like tournaments are now a thing, where esports tournaments are now a thing. And honestly, um, I talked about before like athleticism in general with like ice skating or something like that. General athleticism, I think, is something, or I know is something that takes a lot of work and a lot of practice and a lot of commitment to do. But esports also takes that same thing, and I feel like people are just now starting to realize like how much time goes into people learning about video games, because not only do they learn about like the design of the game, like the background, the graphics, the the places you can go in the video game, the maps, the 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 things you can do with it, like the characters, the movements that they do. They learn about every single small detail of the game as if they're ready to as if they're making the game. Um, and then they use that and they take that to a professional level where they compete and they make a lot of money. And I'm a little bit biased, but I have experience. I think a lot of people have experience, and I have experience in saying this. This is my overly stated opinion. Esports are better than regular sports, and I'll tell you why. Because with regular sports, there's so much toxic like culture integrated into the idea of sports. Very recently, I would probably say in like their last like 50, 60 years or so, women were not allowed to, or not even allowed, but they just didn't play sports. Like baseball, they had to create softball. So like, that's automatically like a whole different thing. That's like they have like different, it just makes it different and it doesn't need to be. But with and then, like I don't know, like women's soccer versus men's soccer. It's because the physical attributes that people think have a different advantage or a disadvantage of the other one. That's the reason why um, sports have different, things for men and women. But with esports, it doesn't matter. Like you could be a woman, a man, a child, a granny. Like you can be anyone, and you can get professional. You can professionally, do gaming, and you could be just as good as the person next to you. And has all the same things as regular athleticism with teamwork and commitment and learning to work together as a group and valuing your purpose, and you have a purpose in what you're trying to do. But it doesn't have the overly enforced toxic culture of like you have to be separated into this and this. But I don't get me wrong, I know for a fact that there is like male players, because of just male society and how destructive male society is, saying that women can't become good professional gamers, but which makes no sense because it's just a different sex. It doesn't make any sense. So like in a case against like softball and baseball, I guess if you want to think about it, some way, like maybe a girl can't throw as hard, like some stupid shit like that. Or like maybe they have to wear certain types of uniforms. I don't know, something stupid, whatever. But with e-gaming, it's totally different. It takes it takes away like certain like variables that cause regular sports, like regular like physical sports, to just become so destructive. And it's such an old mindset of what people are able to achieve. With physical sports, you have to train all the time, this way, this way, this way, this way. And because physical sports have been around for so long, everyone knows, like, I guess, like the best ways to do it. But with esports, there's new things being learned all the time. There's new ways of doing this and this and this. It's a new field kind of that is starting to come out, where people are starting to learn about these amazing different ways that they can do stuff. And that's why I think esports are better than regular sports. That's not to say I don't enjoy regular sports, but I don't enjoy regular sports. Um, if anything, I enjoy sports with that are not connected to culture and tradition. So let me explain. This is my overly opinionated statement. So the football, right? American football. If it was played in another country, I would probably enjoy it because it doesn't have the toxic, like judgmental, you have to like football. And if you like football, you have to be like this. It takes away all those nasty characteristics that go and stereotypes that go along with liking this or that. The same way if I went to like Spain or whatever and they did like soccer and they call it like football, but they did soccer, I would not enjoy it there either because it's so integrated into tradition that so many people have these egos associated with what they're trying to do. The reason why I like soccer in America is because there's less like ego and less stereotypes associated and less hardships that people have to deal with and less judgment from one fan to the other fan. Fans are fucking crazy, but like for example, if I went to I don't know, like I don't know what the UK does. Oh, they have cricket. Like if I went to a cricket game in the UK, I probably wouldn't give two fucks. But if I went to one, in some other place, I would probably enjoy it because it's not as it's not as destructive. I don't know how else to explain it because fans, they love their sports so much that they start to create a toxic culture around it, like toxic fan sports or excuse me, toxic fan culture. And so if I went to a country where they played a version, like they played a sport that is not like popular in that country, then I would probably enjoy it because there's less like there's there's less there's less of like a wall between trying to enjoy versus fans taking up everything and calling the shots and calling yelling and getting angry. There's no way to enjoy it if it's a traditional sport played in the country, and that's my opinion. Anyway, for the last 5 minutes of this little episode, um, Let me find one more thing to like wrap it all up and just pop off for the last 5 minutes because I just feel like I need to pop off against something now that I'm getting fired up. Let's talk about gym culture because I don't know what else to talk about. So let's talk about going to the gym, right? So my entire life, I'm not someone who's been very like athletic. I played some sports when I was a kid, and I was like fairly overweight for like most of my life, I would say. But a lot of my family is also overweight, so like it comes and goes. Um, it goes with that, but my weight also fluctuates sometimes. So um, so like going to the gym, right? I think the first time I ever went to the gym was probably in college. I mean, not probably, it is when I went to college, when I'm in college. And I was so scared the first time I went in there because not because of like people who were like bigger than me or more athletic or things like that. It's because I wasn't comfortable with myself going in there because I felt like I didn't deserve to treat my body nice and didn't deserve to go off and try to be healthy for my own sake. Um, and it was really scary. I was scared to like I thought I had to do everything all at once. I thought I had to work out every single bit that I could. I thought I had to stay like 3 hours to like lose like 6,000 pounds. Like I had to do this and this and this. But I realized soon enough that like everyone in the gym also hates their bodies and also hates what they look like, or else I probably wouldn't be there. No one wakes up and they're like, all right, I'm gonna go for a 2 mile run just for funsies. No. If you do, you're a psychopath. And you're a summer person. You're a summer person if you're if you just wake up in the morning and do a 2 mile run, you're a summer person. And I don't like you. And on top of that, like there's so many great things about health to learn about. The reason why in college I got to go to the gym is because I had a PE class, or not like a PE class. It was a health class. It was like actually like a health class, and they taught you about how this exercise works, this and how this is good for this, and why eating this type of food can help you achieve this and this and this. And it was actually really really beneficial and helpful. And it got me to realize that it's a journey. It's a hashtag journey. Um, to achieve the way that you want to look or how healthy you want to be, um, and it takes a lot of time and effort to do that. And honestly, I have of course, like what is it, I have admiration for athletes because they work really really hard to achieve how they look like and achieve what they're doing. But a lot of it also, like being in the gym also, I've gone for, at one point I probably went for like a year and a half, almost like straight, like almost all the time, maybe like every day or so for almost like a year and a half. And I saw improvement, things like that. But the thing is I saw the same people in there too, and the athlete stayed athletic and didn't progress. And then the people who were trying to get more healthy progressed a little bit, but then they still couldn't achieve what they want because if they go, because how I explain this is like they go to the same exercise machines every single day, they do the same workout every single day, they go at the same time, they have a routine. And it shows that genetics also play a really really big factor in it, but it doesn't stop the progress, it just limits the progress. I think a lot of the times the reason why athletes are so athletic is because one, their genes, but also they put in a lot of hard work, but also because they start at like an earlier age. I don't know, but with a lot of people in the gym, it doesn't matter what size you are. If you're 90 pounds or if you're 900 pounds, you are doing something to help better your life and to hopefully achieve how you feel is going to do something better for your life, like something that you think is going to better your life. And that's good. And I think that's the reason why going to the gym is is good for a lot of people, better than just dieting. I I'm not a health science major, so I can't really say much about dieting, but I'm going to say it anyway because I'm overly opinionated. Dieting is not worth it in the idea that people think people dieting is not worth it in the way people think it is. So when you're on a diet, right, people think like, oh, I need to lose 10 pounds in like 2 weeks. That is not healthy. Like, like dieting to force your body to get rid of this excess weight or what you think is maybe excess weight, that's not healthy. Dieting should instead be called healthy eating healthier, because what I think people should do, because I'm overly opinionated, is eat more healthy, and therefore they wouldn't have the need in order to do all these like diets and exercises. Because eating healthy not only makes you feel better, like it generally just gives you more energy because you're eating healthy things, um, but also doesn't make you feel as bad because you know you're eating healthy, you know you're not eating junk. Versus if you eat, junk all the time and then you diet for like a week in order to lose these 10 pounds before you go to like a family reunion or something like that, that's not healthy for your body. That's not how our bodies are supposed to process the food we eat and the nutrients that we inhale and in intake. So in the future, um, I think that dieting should instead be called healthier eating, because it can be really helpful to change your mindset from eating, like 200 calories of like ice cream. I don't know, like 200 calories of ice cream with 200 calories of carrots, something lame and gross like that. But, the example is there. Um, so yeah, that's what I think about that. Um, and I think we've, entered the last little bit of the episode. Um, I probably won't do one tomorrow because tomorrow's Christmas. I might, who knows? Um, but overall, I hope everyone's having a very safe and very good Christmas season, very good winter season. Um, my next little thing is writing scholarships and recommendations so I can get out of this fucking place and go to a better country, maybe that I enjoy better. But other than that, I hope everyone have a great time. Take a break, relax, have a couple cookies. I don't know, do whatever you want. But yeah, see you later.